What matters though is that you got five guys who play complementary basketball. And so
Mhm.
the more that you can complement everyone else's game, the better you are going to be served at the college level and at the NBA level. Let's talk about a couple of twos as they are described who fit that mold in Brandon McCoy and Jordan Smith.
Mhm.
McCoy at 6'4". I really like just kind of the base of his game. I think he provides a lot that you know you're going to get from him. Jordan Smith, the same way. You know exactly what you're getting out of him. It's just a matter of how does it hold up in different places.
For sure, and they're both somebody that are very, yeah, positionless is kind of a good way to put where they both lie. What you see with Brandon McCoy is a very, God, I don't want to say freak defender, but somebody who's just really has massive upside on the defensive end of the floor. Somebody who can guard you for 94 feet, or he can get off the ball and aggressively play in the passing lanes. Somebody who can come down and weak side shot block while sliding his feet and guarding multiple spots, and just the whole gamut of what he brings matches his physical demeanor. The very long wingspan, the athletic fluidity he has, and able to turn his hips and make a play, the deflections that he gains, the competitive nature that he brings. Just really, just defensively, he's just got so much to his game, and the offensive game's coming around. Not really a one, not really a two, but he's somebody in that kind of new age lineage of guards that you see now, guys at the highest level who kind of fit in that same. You have the Lou Dorts of the world, the Drew Holidays of the world.
Yep. Drew's a guy that
Um,
we talked a lot about with both of these guys last time when we were talking about this class.
Yeah, the Case and Wallaces of the world, guys that aren't really ones, they're not really twos, but they are absolute lockdown perimeter defenders who you put on the point of attack and he causes havoc. Where he goes in college is going to be interesting because that's going to be kind of the role that he has. Being able to solidify the jump shot is huge. That's something Lou Dort did coming in as a sub 30 guy. Now he's above 40% consistently.
Right.
Also, Lou Dort's 220 pounds or whatever. So that's absolutely not one to one comparison. But that lineage of player is something, he's going to have to figure out the jump shot and then do a little bit on ball stuff as well. Coming over to Jordan Smith, it's a little bit trickier because Jordan Smith's about 6'1, 6'2".
Yeah.
With that massive wingspan and everything, he's a little bit more comfortable than Brandon on ball. But he's going to have to again develop that jump shot and all that. And there's a huge winning factor with Jordan Smith, and it's glaringly obvious when he's on the floor. You saw it this summer with the team takeover team with him playing. They were, I think, one loss in the regular season of the EYBL. You see it with the Paul VI team, just win after win after win after win. I think they were a top 10 team in the country this past year. Winning just follows Jordan Smith around. And that's hard to deny, especially when he is the lead producer, the ball in his hand, and he's the lead producer on every one of these teams that he plays on. He's a team first guy, talking to everybody around him, both when it comes to USA basketball or high school or AAU. Talk about the work ethic. They talk about the leadership. They talk about just the high character that this kid brings. Um, and that shows in the games. Positionally, there haven't been the margins are narrow when
Mhm.
you look at the highest levels of what you have with a Jordan Smith. And when it comes to these rankings, what we're looking at is the NBA. We're looking at the
Right.
NBA draft. And he's one of those guys that kind of falls in the cracks of he might not check all the boxes, but there's something there that he'll get a shot.
Yeah.
And the production's going to be there. He's going to go to school. He's going to outproduce the measurables, and he's going to get a shot. It's just a matter of kind of what he does with that. But in looking at that, there aren't many people like him in the league that are cashing checks consistently. When it comes to the 6'2" kind of small forward guys that guard multiple spots and do all that stuff. But Jordan Smith is a special player and somebody that, despite the questions that there are at the highest level, has earned his way to stay in that top 10 as we speak.
Yeah. I mean, you talk about just the range of pathways that guys have. That's what a lot of teams are looking for in that NBA draft. You can talk about um, just pure talent, and that's not always going to be the order that these guys are drafted in. There's some amount of fit. There's some amount of projection. There's all kinds of things that go into it, and so it's oftentimes I think the hardest guys to rank when we talk about NBA when we bring that into the conversation because there will be guys who I'm not going to rank higher than 30th on my draft board. But I believe that they're going to establish themselves in the NBA much sooner and probably much longer than guys who I have ranked in the 20s, just knowing that that's teams value certain things. Teams are only going to draft a certain archetype at a certain position. And I think that's something that's an unfortunate reality for some players who don't check certain boxes, but it's part of the game. And look, at the end of the day, we have plenty of examples of guys who don't check boxes and then go out there and prove themselves and end up with great NBA careers, and they can cash the same types of paychecks later down the line once they establish themselves that way.
No, for sure. I mean, looking at this past draft, you have Derek Queen,
Yeah,
somebody who kind of is exactly in that mold as to there's just something he doesn't check many boxes, but there's just something there that makes it click. You know, you're looking currently, you got Koa Pete, you got
yeah,
Cam Boozer, guys like that. That it's just like they don't check a lot of those boxes, but there's something there that gives them the edge to where they're going to succeed.
right.
Jordan Smith kind of falls into that same mold for different reasons, but in that class, as to those guys previously who found a way.
Yeah, for sure. Another guy who we talked about kind of college fit and how important that's going to be for some of those guys. Caleb Holt is another one that I think that where he goes to school is going to have a monumental impact on kind of his trajectory and how high up boards he can eventually move. He's got a lot of exciting things in his game. It's going to be about bringing it all together, right?
Yeah, he's another one of those kind of connecting piece guys. One of those guys who's 6'5". He can guard your other team's best player, and he can fill in the gaps on the offensive end of the floor. You know, he's not going to necessarily break you down, get downhill, and get to the teeth of the defense, do all that. He's not going to necessarily spray the ball, shooting it and anything, but he can dribble, shoot, and pass to an advantage while getting off the ball, playing off the ball, pulling gravity. Doing that as a secondary type of option. He's somebody who can reinitiate some offense and move the ball, get it to the right spots, and then again, guard the other team's best perimeter option. The connecting factor there has brought him a ton of wins. Another multiple gold medal guy, another person who teammates just rave about playing with. They rave about being around, and that's teammates. And then you have the coaches who rave about his work ethic and his leadership and the aura that he brings to the locker room. Just one of those guys that just elevates the floor of the team with his presence.
For sure.